If you have come across that meme before, have you ever wondered how companies like AWS and Strike stays online despite malicious attacks? Well, they use a system called a distributed rate limiter, and this system is designed to filter out and prevent malicious users while keeping real users online. Now, in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to build a distributed rate limiter step by step using Node.js. Let's get started. So first off, we create our folder and we name it distributed rate limiter. We open up our folder in VS Code. This is how I prefer to open up my code editor to make sure I'm in the right directory at all times. So npm install express. So we install express. While waiting for express to install, we create a file named server.js and we wait for the file to create. Some things are still loading up, and it's what is causing delay. We invoke the express app while still waiting for it to download, to install rather express. And we first thing we want to declare is the request limit, which is the number of requests that can be made in a period of time. So we're going to be using 10 in this video, and the reason is because I want to illustrate what I'm this after I'm done. Okay, so but usual is 100 requests that can be made, that is allowed. So we also want to create a time window to show the number period of time that should be exceeded before new requests can be made. So that is the time window. I prefer calling it a time window because that is exactly what it is. So by using 10 minutes, which should be 10 times 60 times 1000, which is 10 minutes, we are going to be storing our users. We're going to be tracking our users based the request of the users based on their IP address using a mapped request map. And the reason why I'm using a map is because I don't want to use Redis in this tutorial. If you want a tutorial that talks about using Redis, please let me know in the comments. So, but on the norms to store the request, Redis is used. So Redis is more of like a package that helps to track the request made by users over distributed servers. When you're working with distributed servers, like large organizations that have a lot of servers, you want to track the request made by the users, even though it's across multiple servers. So that's what Redis does as a job of Redis. Okay, so we declare our port 2, which is port 8000. And since we want this operation to go out in all directories of the app, we use a middleware function that runs in all directories of the application. And we ask for request, the response, and the next, which is to go out of the middleware function. So the first things first we want to get is the IP address of the user. We get it from the request object of the user. We also want to get the time of the current request that is being made up now. We also want to check if the current user that is making the request is already stored in the map request. So we check if it's there, and if it's not, we want to add the user into the map request. So use a set method, and we set it to an empty array of timestamps. Since it's a fresh user, we need to use a fresh start of the timestamps. So we get the timestamps of the current user that is making a request is equals to map request get. Now we get the IP of the user. We get the timestamps of the user. So this will return the timestamps. Return the array of timestamps here. So basically just that. So then we want to make a while loop, which will loop through this condition if it is still true. And so the condition you want to check is if the timestamps is greater than 0. And if it is greater than 0, if the length of the timestamp array is greater than 0, and the first element in the timestamp array is outside of the time window, then that timestamp should be removed from the timestamp array, which the shift method which removes the first element from an array. And so a condition is used to check if the number of items in the timestamp array is greater than or equals to the request limit which we have set to be 10. And if it is so, we're going to send a response that says that there is too much request, or there are too many requests that are made within this period of time. Please try again later. And so that is what is done there. And if the condition is false, we're going to add the new timestamp, the new time, into the timestamp array of the user. And then when we invoke next to go out of the middleware function, after which we write a get request function to the home directory and receiving the request and the response object, and returning a response of welcome to the home page. Let's also add a console.log over here, which will help us to display our timestamps visually. So here's a quick revision. We created our request limit, our time window, and our mapped request to store the users based on their IP addresses. So let us make the app live with the app.listen function, which will listen to the port that we have declared 8000, and we'll have a function which does a console.log server is running on port 8000. So we will add a script to our package.json, which will automatically start the node app with the npm start command, start node server.js, which is the name of our file, of our node file. And so I type in the command in the terminal npm start, and that will start the server. And then we open up our browser to localhost 8000, and we see welcome to the home page. So then if we look into our console down below, we see the timestamps for the number of requests that are being made being recorded. And if you notice now in our browser, when the number of requests that was being made reaches 10, you can see the message was too many requests, please try again. And if you are patient enough to wait for 10 minutes, you will notice that you are allowed to make more requests after the wait for 10 minutes. So that is how a distributed rate limiter is made. If you learned something from this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Happy coding!